guys, it's your girl Sinan Z, and we're back with another one for you tonight. And tonight we are reacting to the Blitz. All right, so we're going to get right into this one. So if you're ready to learn with us, come on in. And for those who know about it, let us know your thoughts in the comment section. All right, without further ado, let's get into this video. All right, here we go, right about now.
On the 7th of September 1940, a year into World War II, Germany launched an unprecedented bombing raid on London. Until this point, German bombers had focused mainly on military targets. Now they turned their attention to civilian ones, in an attack that killed 450 and injured 3 times that number. Moreover, this attack marked a drastic change in German tactics. From this day forward, London would be bombed almost every single night for the next 57 nights, in a sustained campaign of destruction that became known as the Blitz.
I did not know it's that many times. 57 times?
That's a lot of nights to
That
be
is a
bombed.
lot. A lot. Oh my goodness.
Can you imagine the devastation?
Oh,
57 nights.
and just the trauma alone. Just hearing the sound of bombs going off and the people scream, like, oh my goodness.
I thought it was just a few bombs.
Yeah, like a few bombs, but not 57. Jeez.
No, 57 nights.
Yeah, 57 nights, pardon me, like 57 times. That's a lot.
Jeez. Okay. I know we just started, guys,
Yeah.
but like,
Wow.
In 1940, France surrendered to German invaders. This left Germany, under the command of dictator Adolf Hitler, to focus its attention on Britain. Hitler had a strong desire to carry out a full-scale invasion of Britain, but there was one obstacle that stood in his way: Britain's Air Force. The Royal Air Force, or RAF, was formidable. Though it had far fewer aircraft than the German Luftwaffe, its pilots were highly motivated to defend their country, and were bolstered by volunteers from around the world. Britain's use of the new technology of radar was also much more advanced than Germany's, giving them a significant edge when it came to responding to incoming attacks. On top of this, German attackers had many different objectives: destroying facilities on the ground, engaging in the air, and targeting and blockading ships in the waters around Britain. British fighters, on the other hand, were focused almost entirely on engaging the German threat. This singular purpose, combined with technology like the highly maneuverable Spitfire, allowed Britain's relatively small force to withstand one German attack after another. Germany's superior numbers, however, eventually started to wear down the RAF. Were it not for a chain of events that took place in August 1940, it's likely that Germany would eventually have prevailed. It was late in August when some German bombers accidentally dropped their payloads on civilian areas near London. Up until this point, Germany had aimed mainly for military targets, and so it was a shocking development that they should appear to target civilians. In response, on the 25th of August 1940, Britain bombed Berlin, enraging Hitler to the point that he commanded a change in strategy.
Wow. I did not know that the first bomb that they did on civilians was an accident. I thought it was intentional. I did not know that was an accident. Oh my goodness. And then after what happened to Berlin, like Hitler's, strategy, like I said, just completely changed. Now it's just like civilians only. Like, that's crazy.
There's a war taking place.
Mm-hmm.
They're attacking mainly the military sites,
Mm-hmm.
the ships, the
military areas. Yep.
So you're worried, but
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, here comes a bomb into London, where civilians are.
Innocent people, man.
How messed up is that? I understand that he said that it was an accident.
Mm-hmm.
But then in the beginning it said they were bombed for 57 nights.
Yes, I keep saying times and nights.
So can you imagine now when he said his strategy
It changed.
changed? How heartless can you be, man?
Very heartless.
All of us. But then maybe so. Look now, Britain retaliate, hit Berlin. They didn't expect that either.
German planes would now focus on decimating British cities, London in particular. The British government had long feared that Germany would launch a campaign against the civilian population. Some preparations had already been made. In 1939, thousands of children had been evacuated from urban areas to the countryside. Shelters had also been distributed to city dwellers. Anderson shelters were buried in back gardens, while Morrison shelters could be installed inside the home. Blackouts had also been enforced in many urban areas to make it difficult for enemy planes to locate their targets. Beyond these preparations, though, life had continued with some semblance of normality. People went to work as normal, gathered in pubs and cinemas, and went about their daily business in cities that were, for the most part, intact.
I did not know that. I did not know so much of the preparation and also what was happening, how people were living during all the war and the bombings. Like, wow, going to work still, going to the movies, living life, going shopping. Wow.
But you see, this is how I see it. It's not that they weren't fearful for their life, but they had what? They had confidence. That's how I see it. Like they had confidence that, listen, our military men and women are going to take care of this for us. They had that confidence. And not only that, you got to give them respect because, listen, a war is going on and you going in the hustle and bustle like everything is okay.
It's not easy.
That's
peace of mind too. Like that's crazy to me. I'll be scared to leave the house. I'm sorry.
So you consider them to be brave then?
Brave, yeah. They have a great peace of mind. They're brave.
You have to, when you watch these things, or these history and all this about Britain, you have to give them mad respect. I'm sorry. When you sit and listen to these stuff, they'll be like, okay, they're on another level. Okay, they're in another planet. Because the way they behave, it makes you put them like on a pedestal. Be like, I'm like, there's a war going on. We're going out buying milk and watching a movie. Mad respect, man. You have to.
Wow. This all changed on the 7th of September, 1940.
Okay.
A day that would later become known as Black Saturday. On this day, a massive German raid killed over 450 people and wounded more than 1,500 in London alone. Shocking and devastating as it was, Black Saturday was just a taste of what was to come. After this date, bombing raids continued almost every night.
Oh my goodness.
Population centres such as Liverpool, Bristol, Manchester, Cardiff, Glasgow and Southampton were targeted, but London was subjected to by far the most intense bombing campaign of all. These raids were devastating. Whole streets were obliterated. Churches, schools, cinemas, hospitals and pubs were flattened or consumed by flames. Air raid sirens rang out every night, sometimes multiple times each night. Most citizens were, on a daily basis, exposed to death, destruction, and scenes of absolute horror. They lived their lives ready at a moment's notice to flee to shelters, where they would spend hours huddling cold and afraid as explosions rang out through the city above. When the all clear finally sounded, they would emerge to fight fires, clear rubble, bury the dead, and treat the injured, knowing that, in all likelihood, the same thing would happen again the next night, and the next, and the next.
I can only imagine how traumatizing that must have been every single night. The way he just narrated, you can just like picture it. not just, and I can't imagine the children being traumatized by this, children being affected by this, old people, the elderly that are having a hard time to move. Hospitals were bombed. Hospitals,
School.
those things are
Churches.
untouchable. Like, come on.
It's like no heart, man.
No.
That's all I can say. Can you imagine how terrified these people are? And then the aftermath of that. You get up in the morning,
Yeah.
fire.
They're
Everything's
dead.
gone to smithereens. You gotta pick up. Whether you
Yeah.
know it, whether it's your friend, whether it's your family, whether it's your neighbor, or you don't know, you pick or you bury.
Yep.
And the cycle starts.
The next day. It always continues.
Man, that's madness.
Mm-hmm.
Many famous London landmarks were damaged but not destroyed. Buckingham Palace, the Imperial War Museum, the Tower of London, the London Zoo, St Paul's Cathedral, and the Houses of Parliament were all hit but survived, in no small part thanks to the heroic work of firefighters in the city. While many famous buildings were saved, thousands of ordinary homes and workplaces were not. The Docklands area of London, home to many working-class families, was particularly badly hit.
Look at them babies. Look at the babies. Jesus. Oh man. War. I can never understand war, Sin.
Never can I.
It's for somebody who to just get up and say, look, I want that. And if you don't give it to me, I'ma take it. And I'ma hurt you. Because you want something that is not yours. You want some oil. Okay, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna just get rid of some people because I want that. And if you're not giving it to me, well, you're gonna suffer the consequences. Can you imagine the PTSD, the depression, and then you don't even have therapists back then when you think about it to combat that?
No. And how messed up the children will be from, they're like desensitized from seeing all those horrific things. Like, that is so messed up and so sad.
Can you imagine those losing moms, mom and dad losing kids and like, oh God, this is madness.
The nearby docks were a desirable target and so attracted many bombs. This combined with a shortage of space in shelters and very few resources for rebuilding bomb-damaged areas to make the Docklands one of the places most severely affected. Despite the unending horror of the Blitz, though, life carried on. People went to work and some pubs, theatres and cinemas remained open. People were often pictured carrying on with their day-to-day work despite the devastation around them. There are many examples of people using humour as a way of dealing with the horrific conditions.
In the event of evasion, we shall close for half an hour. Using humor to get over what's going on. That's great. Like I said, you gotta give them mad respect, man. Guys, I can't help but tear up. It's crazy. Just a thought. Kids, man.
Especially the kids.
With elderly, like
yeah.
You can't move. The siren go off. You're trying your best to get to safety.
Of the Blitz, and pictures from the time appear to document a sense of cheerful endurance. The attitude that prevailed, at least according to official accounts, was typified by the now famous morale-boosting campaigns run by the British government, with slogans like, "Your courage, your cheerfulness, your resolution will bring us victory," and "Keep calm and carry on." This Blitz spirit is something that is often fondly remembered and has become a point of national pride, but at the same time it represents only some of the story. Subjected to nightly near-death experiences, many people suffered a range of mental health problems:
Like I was saying,
night terrors, bedwetting, nervous collapse, and psychosis. Some gave up on seeking shelter when the air raid sirens sounded.
Mm.
In the blackout-darkened streets, crime was at an all-time high,
Mm.
and there were few resources to combat it. Fear and nervous tension were pervasive. Personal records from the time reflect the fact that almost everyone was terrified and suffering, but had no choice but to carry on with their lives. The fact that they did carry on was viewed by the government as evidence of high morale among civilians, and this was used extensively for propaganda purposes.
huh?
In fact, the stress and suffering of the British people was made worse due to the government not providing adequate shelters.
So, my thing is, could they have provided adequate shelter in that time?
They did the best they could at given what they had.
You think so?
I personally think so. But I get it. Like they said, they had a hard time with funding. They were fighting a war, and that requires a lot of money. Like I get on both ends. You know, I'm really. It's a really tough situation to be in. It really is.
Anderson shelters were damp and cold and would provide protection only from shrapnel and not from an actual bomb blast. Morrison shelters would protect those inside from collapsing buildings, but not from the fires or thick choking clouds of dust that often followed. Some dedicated shelters were built using incorrect materials, resulting in them simply crumbling when hit, providing little or no protection. There was great demand for deep underground shelters, similar to those that the government had constructed for its own personnel. But the government was reluctant to provide these, fearing that if they were available to ordinary people, those ordinary people might retreat underground and never leave, thus hampering the war effort. As a result, Londoners were initially forbidden from using the tube network for shelter. Desperate, many Londoners did so anyway by buying tickets and refusing to leave the station during air raids.
As they should.
It was only after an escalating series of protests that the government relented and allowed ordinary people to shelter in tube stations deep below ground.
Jeez. Now I changed my answer on that. Yes, they could have done more. That is so messed up. Like, yes, this was for military personnel, you know, personnel use, but like, we're in a freaking war. We need shelter. We need protection. They could have done more. Never mind. I'll take that back. That's messed up. They had to be pressured.
So you're sitting here telling me you could have saved people.
Yeah.
But you're worried about they not coming out back on top, come look out on the sun? No. Seriously, listen. You are worried about people not coming back to the surface. Are you serious? At a time like this?
Trust me, I bet they wanted to go like back in time when things were normal. There's no war. When they were happy, they had their homes. They don't want to be in these underground places, shelters. They don't. Trust me.
But in their eyes, it would have been the safest place to be, don't it?
Exactly.
Whether it will be jam-packed and packed like sardine, at least they think like, listen, at least I can survive. At least
save
I
my
can
life. I want to
see
live another day. Exactly.
No, it's the past. Like I always say, you can't change it.
Mm-mm.
But man, they boo-booed right there.
And you learn from it.
And they boo-booed big on this part.
Mm-hmm.
Because just the way he was talking, I'm like, okay, this don't sound like it's gonna be something nice. Because when he said
I was shown grace.
These proved popular and were soon fitted with toilets, beds, medical facilities, and more. These shelters, of course, were not without their hazards. Some years later, in 1943, 173 people died in a crush at Bethnal Green Underground Station, the worst single loss of civilian life during World War II to take place in the UK. As shelters were developed and people adapted to the hellish uncertainty of life under Blitz conditions, the bombing raids continued up and down the country. London was hammered night after night, while attacks on other cities were more sporadic but were devastating when they came. On the 14th of November 1940, the city of Coventry was devastated by a particularly prolonged raid, which flattened 4,300 homes. The destruction was so comprehensive that some German leaders would thereafter use the word Coventriet or Coventryed as a byword for total destruction. In May of 1941, after an unimaginable period of near daily raids, the Blitz came to an end, called off by Hitler himself. He now wished to send his forces east to fight the Soviet Union, and could not spare the air power needed to continue the relentless attack. Unbeknownst to him, however, the Blitz that he had overseen had already changed the course of the war, though not in the way he had hoped. Hitler's shift in focus from hitting military targets to hitting population centers had allowed the Royal Air Force a chance to recover, rebuild, and reinforce. Had the Luftwaffe continued to strike military targets, Britain's forces would have been decimated. As it was, they now stood a fighting chance against the German war machine. The people of London, Liverpool, Manchester, and other British cities who survived the Blitz survived a living nightmare, sometimes with very little protection or support. Their suffering, at least, was not for nothing.
Wow.
Oh, jeez. I know I keep tearing up, but I can't help it. Every time you sit, I know history. I wasn't interested in history when I was younger. Were you? In a sense?
I was interested.
Okay. For me, back then, history was, well, I can't even say it that way because it wasn't, this is not the history that I was really listening to anyway. It was talking about the Arawaks in Jamaica and yeah, like that.
Nice.
So it wasn't the outside world's history you're hearing. So you'd have to definitely go out there and do research on your own if you were really interested in history like that. You know what I mean? And then when I did some college time, history wasn't one of the subjects that I chose at all. Because I was heading for nursing. So I'm like, what's the point? Why do I need history? I don't need to take up a subject like that. So sitting here and listening to this, it just tugs my heartstring. I'm like, come on, man. Your people are dying over here. Your people are in harm's way, and you're telling me that you don't want to open up a shelter, the perfect place for them to be, to put them back?
Yeah.
Because you're worried about the wrong thing, man. The reasoning behind that don't make no sense, man.
It does not make sense at all.
But then, you see Hitler, them say greedy dog, what? Choke on bone. Because look here, he'd shift his...
Yeah, he's like, I'm done. Let's go somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm done dealing with the military.
Yeah.
Let me deal with the civilians. And with that shift, they were able to
refocus, regroup, strategize better, and come back stronger.
And you see, but I'm not gonna lie, when you sit there and look at the video with the smiles on these people's face, even with all the chaos and devastation, there were still smiles on their faces. They were still going about, the way of life, like, okay, we have a war going on, but we're gonna go outside and play today. When the siren go off, we'll do what we gotta do. But we gotta keep our spirit up. You gotta give mad respect.
Yes, you do.
For that.
Yep.
And you can't and then
the mental toughness that they must have had.
And then you have to give grace again, because there was a lot going on. And you can't really because it's the first time they're in a position like this. So the government, they're going to do what they think is best too
At that time.
At that time. So I can't even really beat them either for that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you live, you learn.
Yep, you live and learn.
You live, you learn. But I did not realize that bombing, because 57 nights. But then here, as he continues to say, he kept bombing random places.
Yes, up and down, just anywhere.
So it's not just 57. I did not realize that London got so much bomb drop there. It just, because, I don't know. I'll keep yapping about this. I'll just keep yapping and yapping, because this is just, listen, it's a hard one to listen to.
It is. And let us know your thoughts in the comment section. We want to join the conversation too. Let us know anything you personally know also. We're always learning by reading your comments. We do read them, and we do appreciate what you guys say in the comment section. Girl, that said, I was strong. Oh, I said you're started. Oh, okay. Anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We love you guys. Please be safe and always be kind to people out there, especially strangers, because you never know.
You never know.
You never know.
Love you guys.
Bye.